Hey, everybody. Here's a quick word about our sponsors. First one being LaserApp. You can find them at www.lasrapp.com. They're a laser activated shot reporter. They're amazing what it can do, all of the things that you can do with it, multiple guns, multiple locations, any type of target. They have a smorgasbord of items on their website store. Check them out. Use the affiliate link below or on our website, casualshooterpodcast.com, and use the code CSP 2021 for up to 15% off items not covered by the affiliate link. Next up, we have Gun Butter. I am one of those people that I clean my gun all the time because I feel like you've always got to clean the crud and put a fresh coat of lubrication on it. That's because of the stuff we had to use in the military. I didn't like it, but I have finally landed on something I can get behind, and that is Gun Butter. I did not shoot. I'm. I did not clean my gun at all at nationals. I did not clean it after the match before nationals, nor the match before that. And there's still gun butter oil on my gun. And I'm going to be using their grease on the lugs of my bolt gun. Next, we have Hoist. It is IV level hydration. It's clinically proven to absorb 110% faster than water. You've got all the right ingredients of your electrolytes that you need: magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium. It's all in there. A little bit of sugar, but that mixes the right amount to make it absorb rapidly so it's not sitting in your belly and weighing you down. So check it out. Get hydrated, stay hydrated. And thanks for checking out our sponsors. It helps with the podcast. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Excellent. How are you?
We're doing well.
Good. How are you? I guess I just asked that. Disregard. All right. So normally what I like to do at this point is ask the guest to introduce themselves, but I want to do it a little different tonight. Things are different, so I wanted a little twist here. I want Mason to introduce Kay and Kay to introduce Mason.
Easy peasy.
All right.
Kay first.
Do I go first?
Sure, Kay, go ahead. Women first.
All right. So we've got Mason Lane. I think three-time national champion. Multiple area match wins. He is an instructor for the shooting sports. A Boy Scout. He's got a lot of good stuff. I don't know what else to say about you.
You're doing
honestly.
great.
Yeah. Sponsored by Grey Guns, Sig Sauer, the Blue Bullets, and overall just pretty good guy and a pretty good shooter.
I hope he's a pretty good husband too.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, all right, good.
That was a part of
All
my
right,
list
Mason.
of interesting qualifications, I guess.
That's just average.
All right, Mason, your turn.
This is Kay Lane. This is my wife Kay. She's been shooting for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, I think 4.
She's A class by skills, probably, or A class by classification, probably master class by skills. So she's definitely one of the better women out there. She owns her own business as a farrier, so she takes care of horses' feet, which is a cool and interesting thing. I think that's definitely given you a lot of wisdom as far as, I don't know, maybe in terms of self-confidence, in terms of sort of your approach to shooting in general, has probably shaped a lot of that for you.
Mm-hmm.
But she has a very different perspective on shooting than I do, so she's a very good. She complements me in my lessons in my training business very well. She travels to most of the classes with me. It is a great asset in that way because she's able to relate to shooters in a different way than I am. So she's an interesting cat to talk to, which I suppose is part of why we're here.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and before I get into the other questions, I assume that she relates to female shooters better and can help with that portion of the classes.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I know for me, I think it's in general. I think sometimes my approach can be a little bit different with female shooters, which I think can be helpful. And I think sometimes women just take it better from another woman. Like take the information better. Just because it might be more relatable to them. But yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I can see that. And that's not saying that you can't relate to men either, but
Yeah.
I can
No.
see it's much harder for a guy to relate to a woman and vice versa. So
We all think differently. Even there's obviously a lot of crossover, but we do all think a little bit differently.
sure. All right. So as I said earlier, Mason's already had the icebreaker questions. So Kay, these questions are for you, and Mason is not allowed to help.
Oh.
This is like the newlywed game where he's not allowed to say anything until the answer is exposed. All right. So Kay, question number 1. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie.
Yeah.
I'm like I honestly I love so many. Like I'm the type that I'm very wishy-washy. I would actually say my favorite movie though is called Edge of Tomorrow, I think it is. It's something like that.
The Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. That's actually like one of my favorite movies of like I'll rewatch
Sci-fi.
that whenever. I'm sorry.
Sci-fi, correct? Sci-fi, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I've seen it, but I know the movie you're talking.
Yeah, I like it a lot. But honestly, I'll watch like a comedy. I'll watch I just watched the Harry Potter series, like any of the classics that I like. But yeah.
Okay. Now we have found
Oh,
Stop.
sorry. The dog's like,
Come here.
in through this line of questioning, I found that a lot of people don't read books. What is your favorite book, though?
my favorite. I'm sorry, book.
Book, yes.
Oh, book. God, I'm a big reader, so that one's really hard.
Oh, okay. Is there a genre then that you typically read, or?
Honestly, I really like I've kept my teenage dystopian stories. But I love like the dystopian or like a different world or something like that. Like I'm trying to think of a good example. I honestly like my Kindle is like absolutely full. Like I would say like currently I'm watching the Handmaid's Tale kind of thing. Like I like the dystopian kind of thing. All time though.
Am I
God.
still not allowed to help?
Go ahead, you can help.
Yeah.
Basically, every book Kay reads, this is always like a running joke for us. I'm like, "What's your book about?" And she'll explain this super like long-winded, like, "Oh, well, there's like there's this one faction which is like supernatural in X way, and there's this other faction that's supernatural in Y way, and the government's all jacked up, and like they're fighting against each other, but also the government." So it's like in most cases, like most of the books are basically 1984, only
Exactly,
like
yeah,
only
yeah.
campier.
Yes.
Okay.
Currently though, I think the series I'm really liking is there's a series and it's a Court of Thorns and Roses, and that's like my favorite right now. But that changes like every week.
So is that book basically exactly what Mason just explained?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. All right. Now we know what the theme is there.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. I don't know if you're into superheroes, but if you are, who is your favorite superhero?
So I used to watch the Marvel movies a lot. Now I'm a big fan of I don't know, I'm sure you've seen it, The Boys. So I'm gonna take my current favorite character from The Boys, and that would be Maeve.
Okay. All right.
She's essentially Wonder Woman, kind of, but
Gotcha. All right. Now the next question is favorite gun and caliber, but they don't have to be married together.
ooh, gun and caliber. So my favorite
I'm gonna go put her in the
dog.
mom's house. So
Yeah,
she keeps it
yeah,
up.
she keeps it up.
I'll be right back. This is K's section anyway.
Yep.
So I have a really, really cool pistol build. It was like my first rifle build, well, pistol build, but and it's a 300 blackout with a silencer, and that is probably my favorite to go shoot. It's
Okay.
pretty different, and it's really cool. I'm super excited though. It's warring with, I just got a 30-30 lever action that I've been wanting for a long time, and that I find very, very cool too, just because it's different than what we normally do. So that's kind of
Now
two
the
answers.
30
Probably my 300 blackout's better though.
Okay. Okay. Now, what's the lever action for? Just plinking or small game hunting? What?
I'm honestly not a hunter because I'm not really much of a killer. I'm not against it, and I would like to go hunting at some point. And we set it up really to take down a deer, but it's honestly I play video games a little bit, and I played Red Dead Redemption for a while. And in Red Dead Redemption, you have a lever action Henry with gold receiver, and it's just absolutely awesome. And I've wanted one since then, so we finally ended up getting one. So we sent it in just 2 days ago. It's pretty sweet. So
Okay. Now, you guys are much younger than me, but have you ever seen any of the old episodes of The Rifleman?
No.
no.
It's a pretty cool series, way old, old West style TV series every week, and the rifleman, used a lever action rifle, and he would spin it around as he cocked it, but he was like the good guy in the Wild Wild West. Pretty cool series. You might actually like it based
I probably
on
would. I probably would.
lever action. I'm trying to think. The rifle. So here you go. 58-63. Chuck Connors was the main character. Now, that was still before my time, but in the 70s and early 80s, you could still watch all that stuff. So, just
I'll
a
have to
little
check it out.
thing. Okay, the last question I usually ask is geared specifically for the guest. It isn't just like the the same questions that I give everybody. Now, as a farrier, what is that work called? Like when you're actually trimming the hoof of an animal, what is that called?
That I guess it's literally called trimming the hoof. Like it's farrier
okay.
work, or like if I'm trimming the hoof, I'm trimming the hoof. You can obviously do like the ironwork style of things. Like farrier comes from the Latin word iron. So you're working with metal. So you shape the shoe, and then I'd be actually shoeing the horse.
So you do all that, you shape it, you do all that.
I do all of it. Yep.
So basically what you're telling me is your grip strength is ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about grip strength at all. I'm more so I have to worry about injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I enjoy it.
How long have you been doing that?
I think I'm going on I guess I'm going on 9 years now. I started when I was still in high school. I had to do an internship class in high school, and I originally tried to do it. My parents had a business, a welding shop, and I was trying to do it in the office, thinking that's where the money's at. And I realized really quickly I was not an office worker, and I needed credits for the class. So my farrier at the time was like, "Oh, you got to go with me," and I was like, I'm not tough enough for this. She always said I should. I was like, I'm not tough enough for this. And she's like, well, just get your credits. And I was like, okay, I'll get my credits. And I did it, and I really enjoyed it. So when I graduated high school, I went to school like 8 months later, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. 9 years later, here you are still doing it.
Yep.
Now, Mason mentioned earlier during his introduction of you that you travel to a lot of his classes, help with a lot of the classes and stuff. Do you ever find the farrier work and the classes interfering, or are you able to schedule your farrier work around all of that?
So it's the good thing is with my work is I can schedule things whenever I want, but the crappy part is with both shooting and farriery is that the busy season is the summer. So that's where it kind of crosses up, but it just means honestly that I train really hard in the spring and fall, and I train when I can in the summer. But some days it's like I'm going to be like beat by the end of the day because I'm in the heat, chewing, trimming.
Yeah.
Um, so not necessarily ready to go shoot at 6 p.m. when I get back or whatever. So it just means I have to work really hard to be able to go on those trips, honestly, in between.
Yeah, that's physically demanding work. So,
Yeah.
side question, what do you do for hydration? Because you're outdoors all day. It's not like you're doing this in an air-conditioned room.
No, I have one, coffee. Two, I have a jug, like, I don't even know how much it holds. It's almost a freaking gallon of water, though, and I usually take two of those in the summer. I'll do liquid IV sometimes in one of them, but honestly, mainly just water. Like, I just have to sit in the truck, and every time I'm driving, just drink and drink and drink.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't make any money from Hoist, so this is, I don't know if you've ever tried Hoist.
No, I haven't.
Very, very tasty, but it's the combination of all of the electrolytes with just a little bit of sugar you need for rapid absorption. It's actually 110% better hydration than water.
Okay.
It's kind of like liquid IV, but tastes better, works fast, might be something to look into.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm always up for
just a
trying
thought.
something, so the cat's
So
invading.
I wish it was around when I was in the military, because that's what, now it's actually the preferred choice by the military. It's in all the PXs. It's on every base.
Really?
That's what they sell commercially. Yep.
Okay.
So
Cool. Yeah, no, I'll have to
Just-
try it.
And what about, have you ever tried a Camelback?
I honestly, no. All I try to do is if I put the water bottle between my anvil and the horse, then as I'm walking back and forth, I just try to grab it, and every time I walk by, I drink. Honestly, I try to, like, because horses are dangerous, I try to like minimalize what I have with me and
Yeah,
on me.
all the rules of woodshop apply. Like
Yeah.
you leave your chains and long earrings and sweatshirt
Yeah.
strings and loose clothing kind of at the door on that one, because
Yeah.
horses have a perpetuity to murder themselves on flat ground. So
Yeah.
you don't need to help them.
Or get yourself murdered.
Yeah.
They're-
Yeah, they're not small animals.
no, they're big animals. Yeah.
Big animals, yes. Do you ever work with any of the big, like Clydesdale size workhorses?
I have, and I quickly stopped. So
I
you
don't
really
blame you.
need like they have something called stocks, where it's essentially they take, like, I don't even know what it is, probably 6x6 wood beams, and they build like like a box essentially to keep them in. Just because they're so heavy that they can't even support their own weight long enough to shoe them. So they set it up so they can like tie up their leg, like one leg, and work on that one leg. And just
Good Lord.
that works way better than you getting under them and holding up the leg. Just they're too big. It's
Yeah,
just,
that's a huge animal. Gorgeous, but huge.
yeah. When I was in shoeing school, they had a couple that were like Amish owned that we would shoe to actually work, which it was fun, to do like a couple times, but I wouldn't want it in my own clientele to do every 6 weeks.
Now I have a 175-pound Great Dane that I call Baby
Yeah.
Rhino that runs as fast as a thoroughbred. Do you think you could shoe him for me?
I could probably try.
He hates, oh my gosh, he hates his toenails being clipped. And if
Oh,
my
yeah.
wife even touches his paw, he gets up and walks away. He's the
Oh,
only dog I've never been able to hold down. The
yeah.
only
That's a
dog.
lot of dog.
It's a lot of dog.
Yeah. Man.
All right. So that's all the preliminary stuff. So Mason said you've been shooting about 4 or 5 years. So how did you get into shooting? When did you first shoot a gun?
So I had like my parents had 40 acres. So we've always had like a tiny little, shooting range, like go a couple times a summer, like plank, so I owned like a couple of 22s when I met Mason, but I was not a good shot. Besides, like, I could shoot rifle. Like, I could shoot a 22 rifle really well because, there wouldn't be any hand action into that. But no real shooting. And then I met Mason, and in the beginning, I just loaded mags for him. I'd watch him practice and load mags. And then he got me into.
Man, that was great.
I was so bad at it. I was too slow. I remember even then being like so depressed. I'd load like one mag and he'd have 5 loaded. I'm like, how do you do this so fast?
He loved it when you were on your internship.
Yeah.
On probation.
Yeah.
So after a while, I watched him at I think a local match or two, and I realized like, all right, this seems pretty fun. Like I wouldn't mind shooting, and 2, I don't really just want to sit around and watch.
Pretty sure that's what you told me. Is this sport is way too boring to watch and not do?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. You should probably start.
So I shot PCC for a while. I think I did that for I don't know, like I started in March of whatever year that was, 2018. And I stayed with PCC I think till June. It was a week before Area 7. I changed to Carry Optics.
You got into it about 6 months before me.
Oh, really? Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I didn't find this sport till I was 52, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So.
I know.
All
I
right,
wish I
so-
found it when I was 12.
Yeah. Now, how Nils and Jessica met in a gun store. How did you guys meet?
I'm gonna take this story actually too.
Good idea.
So we knew each other in high school, but not well enough.
Oh,
and
okay.
It wasn't like we didn't like each other, but honestly, Mason was a freshman, I was a sophomore, and we were, kind of at, a boy freshman and a, girl sophomore is at very different points in their life.
Yes.
So we like were not even interested in each other at all. We weren't even friends on Facebook. And then 2017, I'm going to tell the full story. So at the time, Moana had just come out, and everyone's big on Moana. And there was this post going around on Facebook about how you can't, dress your kid up as Moana because it's screwed up or whatever to do that. So a mutual friend posted this and said, this is so screwed up. You should, I dressed up as Pocahontas or whatever. And of course, it's got like 30 comments. So I'm instantly like, oh man, I'm going to check this out. This is a good Facebook fight that's going on here. This is going to be awesome. So I'm, browsing through all these Facebook fighting comments, and I see Mason's comment, and I recognize his name. And he was saying something like, what did you say exactly?
Well, I was trolling, so I took a hard left stance. I took a hard left stance and said this is culturally insensitive and you shouldn't do this and all that.
So I instantly see this comment and I'm like, wow, that guy turned into a piece of crap. So of course I'm already in this mood of like, I'm seeing this Facebook fight. I'm gonna, anger stalk Mason. So I click on Mason and I'm kind of browsing through his profile. And I'm seeing the shooting stuff and realizing like that is not how he actually feels. He's completely trolling. So I think I added you on Facebook, and the next day he messaged me and was like, "Hey, what's up? slid into the DMs kind of thing. So,
Okay. Oh, that's funny. So you liked his witty sarcasm.
oh yeah, yeah. That's what got me.
Okay. Boom. There you go. And here we are today.
And here we are today. It worked.
All right. All right. So let's get into the shooting stuff now. For both of you, how would you guys rate your 2022 shooting season on a scale of 1 to 10? And crickets.
Yeah, you go first.
Probably a 6.
Okay. And for what reason do you rate it a 6?
Well, because it wasn't an abject failure. I still accomplished some things. I still met goals or matched expectations in a lot of ways, and still took some core takeaways and lessons away, but didn't accomplish nearly as much as I could have in terms of actual placements, which to me at my current stage in my shooting career means a lot to me. And don't have any, I guess the big core lessons that I learned are all stuff that I have learned in the past and more or less forgotten, which is frustrating, right? Like you want to be breaking fresh ground. So hopefully that's stuff that will take root and be constructive to doing better in the future. But it's almost like treading over old ground. So overall, it's better than a 5, but it's not by much.
So following up with that, how much of that do you think is the training you provide that doesn't maybe give you the amount of training you may or may not want to prepare for these?
That's potentially part of it. The year, not 2022, but definitely in 2021, or maybe it was 2020. At this point, I can't remember. That was when I was in the middle of really fleshing out sort of a lot of my different philosophy and starting to do a ton of different private lessons and learning a lot about teaching and what people need through doing that. And through that process, I spent a lot of time doing like drill-based fundamentals kind of shooting to be able to essentially do the sort of drills and skills that you would do in a class and be able to do them on a very high level on demand so that when you go to do it for a class, it's not a problem. And that stuff was good for developing the fundamental skill to whatever point it does. But then I let some other higher level, more dynamic skills fall off because I was focusing a lot on that stuff. And I don't think that was as much the case this year. It was just a little bit of hard skills problems as far as not spending as much time as I should have working on that same kind of stuff, but mostly just betwixt the ears, kind of trying a bunch of new mental management strategies that didn't really pan out and that weren't really constructive.
So do you have like a core mental management strategy you're going back to then? Or?
Yeah. So, sorry, I kind of buried the lead there. Yeah. So essentially,
That's okay.
Being very detail oriented and open minded when going to matches and working through all the details of what happens on stages. So Rob Epifania has most well concise or synopsized sort of the program that I'm going back to. He calls it program and execute, where you take into consideration every single aspect of everything you're going to do on a stage, down to every like transition, confirmation level on targets, movement technique, etc. And you kind of go through and parse out every part of the plan to make sure everything makes sense and is well accounted for. And then you're committing to, that's where you're writing the program, as it were. And then through doing that, you're going to do a bunch of repetition and then execute on it so the first time is proper. And that sounds super basic, but what I was doing through the body of this year was a lot more, I guess, cerebral and less detail oriented than that. Like it is possible that some of the success that I tasted over the last 2 years made me forego some of the stuff that made me successful. And so I'm going back to what I was doing before with a little bit, embracing the process a little bit more than I probably was.
Okay. And actually, I wouldn't say that was very basic at all. That actually seems very thorough.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's basic in the sense that like, why if something's working, why would you stop doing it, right? And that's clearly what happened.
You fixed something that wasn't broken and in turn broke it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Kay, your turn.
I would think so. I would say somewhere between a 6 and a 7 for me. I think I made progress on a lot of consistency. Like I had my first CO nationals. It was my first nationals where I literally had no scored penalties. So there's like a lot of consistency coming in. But I'm still struggling to do a lot of like pushing at matches, which is what I need to do. Like in practice, I'm a lot faster. I'm a lot, honestly, more consistent. Mentally have it together versus when I show up at a match, I can sometimes not quite have it together. But I'm finding that those two, my home performance and match performance are getting closer. So I'm happy with that, but still like, not necessarily hitting all of the goals I want on paper.
Now, do you think some of that is like a failure or a fear of making a mistake, so you throttle it back subconsciously?
I think partially. I think
Well, no. Most simply, no. It's you dial it back consciously, and that's
yeah.
the problem. Is you start overthinking and then
Yeah.
wanting to control
Mm.
more than you can control,
Yeah.
and the confidence to be aggressive using like much looser aiming schemes and being more aggressive is not a natural thing yet. The
Yeah.
subconscious tendency is to revert to a much higher degree of confirmation than is necessary and
Yeah, and
be
just
more
have
timid.
more tension too, because it's like, the second your grip's not doing what it's supposed to, you don't have any choice to shoot, not reactively and stuff. You have to, because your grip is crap. And I find when that stress comes in, then all of a sudden I'm, strong hands getting tense, left hands doing nothing,
Mm.
and that's my tendency to creep in. But I found this year that's getting better. So I think next year will be really good for me.
Okay. Now, when I was, coming up with all my notes to ask you guys questions and stuff, okay, I'm not familiar enough with your years of shooting to be able to go through my head and go, I wonder how she would rate this.
Yep.
But I've followed Mason for a few years, and last year had him on. So in my mind, I was like, well, he's probably going to give himself a score between 5 and 7, and knowing where he's been in the past, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, he's going to consider this a disappointing year based on what his potential is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So interesting. Now, how much do you think all of that is going to play into 2023?
Well, it should be a lot, right?
I would hope.
I mean, if you're
Well, I
smart,
mean-
if we're smart at all, then it factor in quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, have you already taken steps in your training to, I don't want to say correct, that's not the right term, but to turn that clock back and reinstitute those things?
Yeah, at least for speaking for myself, yeah. I mean, some of the hard skills stuff, like, and I guess the executing skills, you're practicing by spending more time visualizing and then really paying close attention to how things go in the first run. And so that's best augmented by doing really complex and involved skills tasks, which you would not be suitable for practicing any of the things that are contained in the exercise, right? So like you take like think of an L pres and then add 3 or 4 more layers of complexity, be it through distance changes and movement or white and black on the targets or whatever, for example, right? Like it needs to be fairly complicated to make it so that you can test if your visualization is going to work. So I've been doing more of that stuff and more of that with movement and weird positions and things like that. But again, it's mostly about the mental approach, not necessarily what the actual training content is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you're I mean, obviously you're a GM and a national champ, so you're right there at the very top level. So I don't feel like it's your shooting skill that needs to be improved, but it sounds like for you it is just more that mental capacity,
Like,
the mental programming aspect.
yeah, definitely. Like if I could have just one hard skill change, like if I could just snap my fingers and make it happen, it would be like hitting steel more consistently. And it's like it's obviously not that I lack the mechanical skills or the knowledge of how to hit any play you can put in front of me. It's just a will to commit to what it takes to do it consistently and under pressure, right? So that's a programming error, not a skills error.
Right, I totally get that. Now, Kay, you mentioned being on the women's super squad this year at Carry Optics Nationals.
Yep.
Did that add any unexpected pressure?
You know, actually, I found it went better for me. I didn't. The girls are great. You know, everyone's really supportive. You know, obviously the first stage, you like feel like you have something to prove, and then you kind of realize like, yeah, no, we're all here competing. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing to prove. Like, and I thought it went better for me than other matches, like especially like the moving sequences and stuff, just because there's a lot of women similar to my, you know, everyone's more so closer together than usually I'm, you know, squatted with Mason. I can't determine a moving sequence or if I can pull something off based on what Mason does.
Right.
Versus, you know, everyone, you know, I could pick out like, yeah, those two or three are pretty close to me. I'm going to watch them and see what they decide to do. And I found that was really, really helpful and gave me like way more confidence than I would have expected coming into a lot of those stages.
I think it's also worth noting that the women's super squad is way more supportive
Oh, yeah.
of good or bad runs
Yeah.
than when you shoot with me and my friends.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I have to like absolutely murder a stage to get
Yeah.
like a good job
Yeah.
from you guys.
Yeah, and what I was going to add to that was whenever I watched the women's super squad shoot, it was like a party before and after,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was always high fives and woohoo, everybody's
100%.
chatting and having a great time. And then you look over at the men's super squad and you're like, man, if they were allowed to shoot each other, I feel like they would. I mean, it's like a completely different atmosphere. It's like, my God.
Oh man, that's
And
pretty-
it's like, and it's all harassing. Like when Nils almost fell down, and Phil's like, "Why are you a quitter, Nils? Next time you trip, you need to continue and finish it out." It's like, man, they don't give each other any breaks over there at all.
no, especially if Phil's there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially Phil. I think that's the whole reason they put him on that squad, is just to give everybody harassment.
Yeah, just
Psychological
harassment.
warfare.
Hysterical. Now, Mason, is that correct? It seems to me from the outside looking in that it's much more tense on that men's super squad than it is the ladies.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. I don't think there's any genuine animosity towards each other, but everyone wants to win just as bad as the other. So if someone literally falls on their face, it's gonna be like, man, I feel bad for you, but I'm glad it's not me. Next stage, let's go.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And now you guys, I observed something at Carry Optics Nationals. One afternoon, it must have been day 3. Because there was was that B section or section B, whatever I forget now, how they termed that, but you guys had both finished shooting a stage, or was it a stage or the end of the day? Anyway, whatever it was, I noticed that you guys came together and you started talking, and I heard Kay ask him, how was it? And it wasn't, the answer wasn't good. Mason was not happy with how he had shot. So my question is, in between days at like nationals, at the end of the day, how much do you guys talk about the different stages and verbally walk through what you've done and what you need to do? for the next day?
Definitely quite a bit. Usually, usually if you had a bad day, you can only spend so much time like feeling sorry for yourself. So usually we'll take like the car ride, kind of break down like, the actual, say the issues that you saw that were like egregious, like you try to wait till the end of the day to actually go over it. Because you don't want to be discussing that like, when you're still going to go shoot a stage. So at the end of the day, chit chat through, okay, I did this, that was messed up. Okay, I did that, and kind of work through solutions.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
would say so.
But between just the two of us, we strategize to whatever degree we can to try to figure out what strategic adjustments we can make, or if there's just actual information we can collect from future stages.
Yeah.
We'll share that as much as possible. But when it comes to just belly aching and complaining about how much we suck, like when we house with a group of guys at least every nationals, where we have a fairly strict no match, no gun talk policy. Like take it outside. Like we're not talking about business. Like we only get to see each other 3 or 4 times a year. We're not going to sit here and lament how much we suck,
Yeah.
how much this mouth cost me this, or this swing on this swinger cost me this. Like we just flatly don't do that. It's a constructive discussion only.
Yeah. So like a
Okay.
shoot, I would say like because I was I was like 1 or 2 sections ahead of Mason. So we would go over, strategy based on, okay, I shot this stage, this is what you should do. Because I had Max Michelle on my squad and like the Production Optics Light team. So, okay, this is what these guys did, you should do that. Or this is what they did, but it didn't, I don't think it worked out well. And like we'd strategize that way. But at the end of the day, basic information, strategy, and then come up with solutions.
Yeah, I mean, I see that as it can't work any better being a husband and wife team out there shooting the same stages. So, and the other part of that made me think of that question was, like you were saying, when your grip's messed up, there's only so much you can do. So then in my mind, I visualize the two of you at the end of the day talking about that and then taking 20 minutes to figure out what the issue was, correcting it, and then moving on.
Yeah, and I think it helps too, we know each other so well that, and, we train together all the time, that we know the cue words that maybe, the person needs to hear, even if it's not the exact solution you think of, like, hey, if you just got, lower and wider stance wise, you might be more aggressive to grip the gun. Like just getting that feeling in your head. Yeah, that's a good point. That's something that helps me. Okay. Not necessarily just grip the gun, but try this other thing that might help you just because we do know each other.
Yeah. I mean, it's the perfect sounding board.
Yeah.
So, if nothing else, that's what, you're just throwing stuff out back and forth until you figure stuff out. So it's got to be a huge benefit.
100%.
So talking about World Shoot, you guys went there. Any crazy travel stories?
We were blessed to have no
We
crazy
were
travel.
super blessed. Yeah, our travel went really, really easy. Honestly, even the time change went easy for us. Like I felt like I was like ready to go on their schedule after day one. Like I think you got like honestly, I thought I heard worse stories of people that did like the Delta One, sleeping on the plane thing, and they like got to sleep. We didn't get to sleep, so by the time we got there, it was like I don't know, like 10 p.m. their time or something, and we like went to the bar, hung out for a little bit, like, and then finally went to bed and just slept for like 10, 11 hours, and we were like, okay, we're on their schedule now.
Yep.
Wow.
It's easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Can't work out any better.
What's that?
Couldn't work out any better.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you travel that far, you're always going to have remarkable culture experiences. But like based on both how our schedule worked, we weren't on the exact same schedule, so we didn't have all kinds of time to spend off doing excursions and what have you. And the nature of Pattaya is it's kind of like a beach city, you know. It's a lot like other beach towns, like honestly not so dissimilar from what you'd see in the U.S. So we didn't have any crazy adversity, didn't have any wild stories.
No,
It was
and we had a good group of guys.
it was a uneventful trip in a very nice way, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
I'm
we
Go
earned
ahead.
that after our Czech Republic trip. Though.
Yeah.
Our Czech Republic trip this year was like
It was gnarly.
it was
We
so.
Oh,
spent
goodness.
like 48 hours just getting out of the
We were in
States.
Boston for
Yeah.
like 48 hours, and that's an hour from our house.
Yeah,
It sounds like Matt Hopkins' experience
Yeah.
at World
Yeah.
Shoot.
he got
Yeah.
that experience for sure.
Yeah. No, we were really
Wow.
lucky. We after and honestly, I think the good thing too was we kind of got a reminder of how schedules can get screwed up in the Czech Republic. Is it still going, or is this the camera issue? Oh, okay.
I think we're fine.
In the Czech Republic, and we learned that lesson, so we decided to go as opposed to being like one day early. We went 2 days early or whatever it was time wise, and it worked out great. We were well rested. We got to see the city a little bit beforehand, and so that was nice.
Now, it from what I saw on Mason's Instagram, you guys got an opportunity to shoot before the
Yeah.
match,
Yes, a bunch.
and I'm sharing this now, so that's what you saw pop up. Kay,
Oh, yeah.
was Battle Mouse.
This place was so cool.
This place is amazing.
Yes.
It's incredible. They have
So
like
when are you
sprinkle-
guys building one of those? I mean, just you should just talk to SIG and have them build one on your property and say, "Look, we'll build it here. People can come."
Oh my god.
We need
I would
somewhere to
love
plow
that.
snow if we build that where we're at.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay. Maybe just heaters enough to melt it before it
Yeah.
builds up.
Yeah.
But
God,
that
that place
place,
was cool.
Can bottle the range water.
did you guys? Now, how much did you get an opportunity to shoot at that range?
We shot there for
That joint was rented out by the hour, so we
Yeah.
went and shot a practice match at another facility, which was a more standard outdoor range, a nice range, but it was a regular
Yeah.
outdoor range. They had a 10-stage practice match set up, or I think we paid like $150 or something, and they let you shoot 10 stages that's sort of in their flavor that were kind of loosely resembled World Shoot stages. The day prior to where we went to there, and we had to buy ammo to be able to shoot that event, and so we kind of did like a course sight-in,
we
like
didn't
over the
sight it.
course of the
We did not
match,
sight it.
really.
Yeah, that was bad.
And then so then we had bought match ammo to shoot the world match with. So at a minimum, we had to go make sure the guns were sighted pretty close with that ammo. So we shot over to that joint that you see there. I think it was called Battle Mouse.
Yeah,
was the name of
and
the range.
and it was only like 10 or 15 minutes from our house, so it worked out better versus if we had to go to that other range that was like 40 minutes away.
Yes.
So we went to that range, zeroed the guns, and then we shot for a little while, and it was awesome.
And we had that was just one example. I think there was 3 other ranges within 20
Yeah.
minutes of that place that everyone we talked to had, a similar experience to that. Like, yeah, you go pay $45 or whatever, you can shoot for an hour at this remarkable,
Yeah.
fully indoor, quasi indoor range, like right outside town. So it's the shooting culture there is definitely, it must just be, by nature of the number of tourists that come through that area. It's pretty big.
Wow. I had no idea. Now, I almost, after seeing all the stages and everybody's footage and what everybody was saying, I was almost like, maybe they should just have the World Shoot there every 3 years. I mean, we'll make that the frost proof of IPSC World Shoot.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yep.
Now, it looks
and
like
the people were cool too. Everything was cool.
Yes, the people were fantastic there.
Yeah.
That was honestly probably one of the nicest parts. It was
Yeah.
absolutely everyone we worked with was extremely accommodating and helpful.
Now, did you guys get to do any, did you stay after the match at all to do any sightseeing?
Not really.
Yeah, we did one extra day on the back half. Just it time wise, we've got our pets and work and everything like that. So it was about time to get home. But we got to do a little bit of sightseeing. We went and did we went and saw like it was like an elephant reserve, kind of like an elephant rescue place, and that was really really cool. We essentially gave the elephants like a spa day. We fed them, and got them all mudded up, bathed them, scrubbed them, and
I kept on joking we were paying to do chores.
we were paying to do chores. 100%. We were paying.
That's pretty much what it was, but it was elephant. So
Yeah.
it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hysterical. Did you ride an elephant?
We didn't.
Nope.
No.
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 There was a circus came to town where I live, and I got an opportunity with my oldest son. He was still very young, so early 2000s, and we got to ride an elephant. I'm like, that's a cool experience.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so we did that. I don't know what else we did.
Fed dogs. There's
We
a lot.
fed a
There's
lot
a
of
lot of
dogs.
dogs. Like they have a lot of street dogs, which all look very well fed. And so we made friends with all our neighborhood dogs and gave them, peanut butter jelly crusts and stuff like that.
We did.
Well, that's
Ate a lot
cool.
of pasta.
Now, are either one? I saw you guys went to a Muay Thai fight. Are either one of you into combat sports or?
No, not really.
No.
The guys, all the guys that we stay with are much more into it than we are. But it was a really really cool
Yeah, that
experience
was
to go
cool.
see it. I think it was what it was like
It was like 20
50
bucks.
like
or
20 bucks for
something.
both of us to go, and then
Yeah.
it was three full on fights, all back to back.
Wow,
So it was pretty sweet.
It was cool.
awesome! You got to do some stuff that you would never do here in the States, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
definitely.
100%.
Oh yeah, here we go. Let me pause it, and I'll share this. Share Mason's Instagram screen here real quick. Okay, that's not going to work. Every now and then it likes to do like a disco light fluttering, and yeah, I can't put that on the screen or we'll all have seizures.
Yeah, don't
Pretty
do that.
bad. Yeah. Make sure I've got this. There we go. Well, dagnabbit, where'd you go? There we go. All right, it'll be here in just a second. And boom.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And there he is. Finally, something taller than Mason.
I was trying to be coy and feed it to him, and she's like, "No, you're gonna bring it to me." This
Look at
is
all
what
of
they
them.
did right here. They'd be all sneaky with it. So like they didn't want
Yeah.
to one at a time, so they'd like tuck them in their little wrist, their little trunk wrist there, and then eat them all at once.
Wow. I
Why
guess
would
it's
eat
kind of
one
like,
Tic Tac when I could eat a whole handful of Tic Tacs.
exactly. Like, do you see how big I am? I don't eat just one.
The best part was they would pretend, like they would bring it right to their mouth, like, "Oh yeah, I ate that. Now give me another." And it's like, no, you didn't.
I mean, the size comparison when you look at the worker over here, I mean, that guy's barely over the top of the fence height, and the elephant's got his chin above the fence. Holy
Yep.
cow.
It's crazy.
Huge.
They are so
That's
big.
pretty cool. That's funny. Let me delete that now. Yeah, that's a cool experience.
Yeah, it was really.
So did you guys get lucky and have your day off of shooting the same day then?
No.
We got
Oh.
our schedule at least was the same, but the day off was different. So it was good. At least our schedule was the same. Because
Right.
originally that wasn't going to be the case, and then
Exactly. Originally, it was going to be 2 different days off, but then also like Kay'd be shooting morning and I'd be shooting afternoon, and then vice versa. So we would have spent every second we had at the range or
Apart.
working on getting to the range.
yeah,
So it was good that they kind of changed the schedule around a little bit for some other reasons, I suppose, and realized that they wanted to do it that way. So we ended up at least being on the same shooting at the same time, but then different days off, which was better.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you'd have been in a foreign country for a week and for 5 or 6 of those days never see each other except at night.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Oof.
We were definitely really, really nervous of that. So we were
Yes.
glad it worked out kind of at the last minute.
Yep.
Now, ammo wise, did you guys buy the ammo here in the States and take it with you? No, you bought it over there.
We decided to buy ammo there, which I don't know if I'll do that again because I wasn't able to determine it if it was zeroed properly to my gun pretty much the whole time. For whatever reason, I was struggling to hit things that I felt I should have been able to hit. And I was generally dissatisfied with that and some malfunctions that I had that I think were related to my gun more than anything, but definitely were aggravated by the fact that it's, unproven ammo. But they did tee up an opportunity for pretty much anyone, almost no matter, I think, what division you were shooting. You could pretty much buy ammo there for a pretty reasonable rate. That fired and functioned reliably, which was nice.
Yeah. We didn't want to worry
Okay.
about it with the just the plane ride over and stuff and say they take some ammo or whatever. We didn't want to deal with that. So we were thinking we'll just play it safe and buy the ammo.
There's never any guarantee that when you get there they're going to have ammo for you to buy if your ammo just doesn't show up. That's so it's you can take that fact. We thought we were playing it safe by taking that factor away and just buying ammo there. For the next one around, we will probably do what we can to bring ammo.
Yeah.
How did you guys like the stages they had built?
They were awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
It looked like there were a lot of skills that were being challenged.
right. So that's the most, I guess, cogent comparison I could make. Like if you go to USPSA Nationals, for example, especially think of Carry Optics Nationals, which everyone sitting here attended. It was probably out of a 20-stage match, probably 9 to 11 stages, or like really kind of a pucker factor. Like you have to work at it the whole time to keep your nose clean and do everything right the entire way, just because of the way the skills are combined together, like all very different skills kind of in rapid fashion. And that's a really good match for a match in America, right? Like it's usually that number is a bit lower. And that's kind of how IPSC is the entire time. Like the stages are just set up in a way that you have to do everything right the whole way or you're going to be in trouble. So the match was definitely lower factor than we're used to or than we expected. So much more accuracy intensive than we probably were counting on.
There we go.
We're gonna have to do a little. You're gonna have to scoot over as much as you can. Sorry, we're trying to keep the recording equipment operating here.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like
So
you
yeah,
plugged in the
the
laptop.
match was a little bit more accuracy intensive than we probably planned on, but it was overall it was awesome. I mean, it was everything you expected in an IPSC match. We've been to a few matches now that are that definitely at least that good.
Yeah, 100%. I would say definitely difficult. Like a lot of things going on at one time. What I think I liked the best out, what I liked about it more than I would a USPSA match is there was never like a stage planning issue. It wasn't like, oh, somebody got the better stage plan, so now they cut 3 seconds off, and that's what set them up to win that stage by 10%. It was legitimately all skills. I mean, it's like, did you execute that plan faster, or did you not? Did you get the points, or did you not?
Yeah, that's one thing that people really value in America, or a lot of people seem to value in America, is the concept of options on a stage. Like there should be, like they feel that the stage should be teed up in a way that just figuring out a plan is something of a puzzle, where there's multiple different valid ways to do it that are meaningfully different in terms of what skills you're going to apply to get it done. And that's
Right.
honestly not really a factor most of the time in IPSC. They tee the challenge up the way they want you to do it, and there'll be very minor, choices to be made about, target engagement order, or maybe potentially like,
Start
take one or
position.
two target, from this place or that place. But for the most part, the plan is going to be pretty much the same for everyone. Which it's less freedom to the shooter, but it's way more freedom to the designer. So they're able to tee up the challenge. Like they can make essentially a hand curtailed portfolio of different skills they want to test over the course of a match, and it actually gives them a lot of latitude to be able to make a very well balanced skills test that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, now that you say that too, I feel like unlike USPSA, so American style shooting, that you're really getting a better idea, a better comparison of the shooters.
Yeah.
Yes,
100%.
You know,
completely agree.
it's not going to be based on, oh, like you said, oh, he had a better stage plan, something I didn't think about, and saved himself a second or two.
Yeah.
Now everybody has to stay in the boundary lines.
Yep.
Everybody pretty much has to start on the left or the right or whatever, and it's all based on skill.
Yeah.
I've said before and proposed casually that it would be a really cool thing if American matches could have restricted or unrestricted movement rules, to basically have one rule set or the other as it relates to how you're allowed to interact with the free fire zone. Like, you could do USPSA style and IPC style stages, and it could be cited on the course description, just like Comstock or Virginia Count or Speed Shoot in long course or whatever. It would be like that. So you could roll up to it, X number of rounds, Comstock, medium course, restricted motion, and you read that right from the jump, and you see, oh look, it's a path that looks like a rectangle. I know I now can't cut all back and forth across the zone or whatever the case may be, and that would give. I think USPSA, the USPSA establishment probably feels that that's a part of the freestyle nature of the sport, is that you're allowed to. You want people to be able to skin the cat by kind of bending those rules to whatever degree they want to. And I think it can give you a lot more freedom as a stage designer to tee up the challenge like you want it to, if you're allowed to set those restrictions. And it doesn't have to be just used punitively. Like you obviously see in those matches, it's used in a way that promotes, a very well-balanced test in a much easier to do way.
Yeah. I mean, everything else is in a written stage brief, so I don't know why you couldn't. And I look at it too. You had the part-time stage at Carry Optics Nationals, so you kind of restricted everybody in a way with where you're starting, and you only have 4.5 seconds. So everybody's kind of starting in the same place, and almost there might be a slight difference between shooter A and shooter B as to whether they start right here at the beginning or they step in and shoot right to left. But if you can do that, I don't know why you couldn't, like you said, have a restricted movement.
Right, and you see there's lots of stages in the US too where they're functionally the same way. Like if you have a stage that's a bar, right, and you start on one end, it's like, okay, yeah, well the stage is going to go in that direction, unless you're able to create activators that basically force your movement to go in one way or the other. So it's one of those things that could be a really cool option for folks, and actually, especially for clubs that are hard up on resources, they could tee up what they want, in a much easier to execute way.
The thing I think that is the biggest benefit of doing something like that too is, like, say you're trying to tee up that challenge where you're making them snake through this this movement or whatever. What are you going to use? Walls and whatever targets. You're gonna set it up so that they can't get out, and you're not thinking about the safety of the RO in that situation, or the resources that you're using up.
You got to be smart about it both ways, no matter whether either rule set you use. I mean, it could be punished by an eager beaver stage designer that wants to make a 60-second stage, and if they weren't applying the economy of effort that typically gets applied, right, you could do that, and I think that's probably what people are afraid of. But I don't think that would. I think it would give a lot of flexibility in a really beneficial way.
Yeah.
Agree. I would like to see some stages at nationals where, especially for the super squad shooters. So it's going to be for everybody. But my point here is pertaining to those guys is I'd like to see more stages where, JJ and Max aren't running to the left and everybody else is running to the right and doing a completely different stage plan, where you guys are more directly compared, as to who picked up time shooting quicker, moving in here and moving out of here. That'd be much more interesting to me as someone who watches you guys and is like, how are they gaining tenths of a second here and tenths of a second there on each other when they're both, at the top of the game.
Yeah.
So, from that aspect, I would find it more interesting. But
Yeah, I agree.
now, how did you guys? How did you guys? I really thoroughly enjoyed watching the Pan American. I forget the other. Was it the other IPSC match right after Pan American and the World Shoot? Because one, they had actual movers. I don't mean swingers and bobbers, but on a rail and moving targets. And then at Nationals, they had them not only moving, but then bobbing as they moved.
Yep.
Now, what did you guys think about their moving targets?
I mean, I think they were good. I thought they were well executed. There was some stuff that I thought was a little bit crazy. They had a couple movers that were on sliders that had swingers on top of that. And then in both cases, actually, they had no shoots on top of those targets,
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of like spilled the salt in the pan a little bit on the difficulty there. But
Right.
Honestly, though, I didn't. I had a dot, so I guess I don't know if what I'm saying even makes sense. But the only thing I didn't like about those was the consistency, because they would the way those spinning no shoot targets would go in. They would end in a track and then be a swinger, which is fine if that happens the same way every time, but it wouldn't. It would sometimes it would hit, lose all its energy going into the track, and then be sitting there like this. Sometimes it would hit with all the energy and be a full swing.
I actually forgot about that. Yeah.
That I didn't like. Other than that, I thought they were really cool. The Pan American movers were honestly psychotic.
A little
those
crazy.
Those were crazy.
They were crazy.
Those were I'd be like, oh yeah, 3 good shots, wham, 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 perfect. I'm gonna have an Alpha Charlie, and I'd walk up to it and it'd be like, oh yeah, there's a Delta miss, and it's like, what? But they're
we sort of
doing
figured
this.
out over the course of that match. We figured out a lot better how to hit them based on how much you had to lead the target based on your distance relative to the target you're shooting
Yeah.
at, just based on flight time on the bullet. Which, I mean, that's when it gets to that point, in my opinion, that's not something that should be in a national level competition. If you want to do that in your section or area or whatever, where that's kind of the flavor and people are used to that, I think that's fine. But I mean, it was a lot of those targets. It was functionally at random how penalties were issued, based on where you start and how much exposure you got to that. Because that's something that's so unlike what any of us had seen, that it was a dice roll. I mean, like you said, you could call 4 good shots on it and just be air biscuits all around. Nothing to be had on the target when you got down there.
Yeah.
And that got to be a little frustrating. I like the way that they handled it at World Shoot quite a bit better.
Yeah,
there wasn't
it was
anything
nice.
that was guesswork to be able to get shots on.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, now at World Shoot, taking the no shoots off, would that have then been optimal, you think?
Yeah, or
For
even
those?
replacing the white with black, right? So that you're not going to get dinged with a
Okay.
penalty that sticks just for
Right.
putting a shot where
It's
it
just
doesn't
a
belong.
hardcover
We
type thing.
experienced that a little bit at another area match we went to this last year too, where it was they were really difficult movers, and then you have white on top of it, and it's like, well, now you just took it from you can take as much time as you want to hit it to you might not be able to get the shots you want no matter how much time you spend, and that's I don't know. I guess it's a
over-punishing.
matter of taste, but I find it kind of insulting.
Okay.
Especially for folks that have a tough time hitting the stuff irrespective of a time limit,
Yeah, it's not as
Right.
it's not as big of a deal for you,
Yeah.
but for and I don't think you necessarily need to pander to new shooters, but
No, especially not in an area match. but-
anyone honestly, even I hit several no shoots at that match, and it's that's not normally something I do, but I don't think you should be punished with the time, not necessarily with, oh, you're taking time and now you're also hitting a no shoot. That's a little bit much.
Yeah, that's like doubling up the penalty. So
Yeah.
not nice. I totally get that. So at in Thailand, what was the favorite food you had?
Chicken cashew nut. That was my
Yeah.
favorite.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I ate a lot
Was
of
that-
that.
Was that on noodles or rice?
It was on rice.
Okay.
It was very good. You know what my biggest disappointment was in Thailand actually was I love pad Thai. Their pad Thai not that good, honestly. I think that's Americanized.
It's true.
Yep, I was gonna say,
Actually-
yeah, it's Americanized over here.
I was really surprised because we have a couple spots around here that where it's really good and really flavorful with like good fresh ingredients, and that was not our experience there. We
No.
tried it a half a dozen different times and wasn't quite there any of
No.
those times.
No, it wasn't. I was pretty
Wow.
sad.
Yeah.
I got a Penang curry a couple times,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
think is actually a Vietnamese dish, maybe. I'm not sure, but it was excellent. That was really good.
Well,
I had a bunch of
they're-
the curry dishes, and
the
they were all
curry
really
was good.
good.
They're like, side by. That's like saying, you got a Mexican dish from Texas in El Paso. You know what
Right,
I
yeah.
That's true.
Yes. Yeah.
So, oh, that's funny. But okay. So overall, you enjoyed the food?
Oh,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
No, we found all the really good restaurants really early on,
Yeah.
and we're definitely spoiled that way. And I mean, like
Okay.
it's the conversion rate is very favorable for us
yeah.
too. I mean, like most things were about half price. The food in particular, you probably paid,
It was
even
probably
after the
quarter.
conversion, probably about 25% of what you would
Yeah.
pay for a regular meal. The first few days, we were like starving
Oh my
ourselves.
God, it was so
They were
bad.
like, "Oh yeah, I'll just order. Only have time to eat twice a day, so you just order basically lunch and dinner or whatever." And then we realized a couple of days in, we're like, we're dropping weight like fast
Yeah,
between sweating hard and eating 2 meals a day.
Yeah. And honestly,
Right.
and our one buddy Matt brought up the fact he's like, the other thing is you're not eating as many carbs. And we were like,
Yes.
honest to God, I had like visibly dropped between the travel and the first 2 or 3 days of the trip. I'd visibly dropped like 10 pounds, and I was like, we need to eat.
We gotta do something here.
And so we're like, okay, well, we're spending like $4 on meals per day. Why don't we like actually just get a couple extra?
Let's bump it up to 10.
Yeah. So $10 on food. So we started still eating twice a day, but we'd all order one round of food, and then as stuff started showing up, all of us would be like, yeah, I'm gonna have what he had too. And get me 2 of those crepes. And
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
the waiters and waitresses are like, what is going on? But
Yeah.
these fat Americans, but it was exactly what we needed.
It's true.
Well, yeah. I always ask people who've been over there about the food because in the military, I was in Korea, I was in the Philippines, I was in Okinawa. So I tried all that different food, and that stuff is amazing. So I'm like, the one place a lot of guys I knew over there would take a flight. They would take time off and take a flight over to Pattaya. And, but I never did. So I always ask people when they go there, like, how's the food? One place I never went.
The only thing was a lot of people did get sick, definitely. People were
But
doing
to be fair,
they were doing street food.
most of them were people they were trying out the street food, and
Yeah.
you'll see the folks
Okay.
that have basically a little mobile restaurant like kind of strapped to they have like the sidecar with the roof and the big like scaffold basically strapped to it, and then they have the little grill, the charcoal grill on the side of that thing, which it smells amazing,
It
and you
smells
walk
so
by and it
good.
looks amazing, but then every now and then you'll walk by one that has like strips of squirrel meat or whatever strung up, and it's just sitting there not cooking in the sun, and you're like,
Yeah, it's
Huh.
90 degrees.
this is
It's like
this
Right.
is a little questionable here.
Yeah,
So
there's
did
no
not
way
dip a toe
bacteria
in
is
that
growing
pool.
on that.
No, we did not dip a toe
Yeah,
in that
we were-
pool,
we were-
and we stayed pretty healthy
yeah,
almost the entire time until the end.
yeah.
Now, getting into the training business, Mason, how is the law school application and testing business?
It's doing great. Yeah, I wasn't thinking too hard about it when I came up with that acronym, I guess. It's going
Yeah,
well. We got a lot more classes scheduled for next year. We're really excited. We're doing a trip to Norway actually in the spring next year to teach some
Oh.
classes, so we're very excited for that. And then it's the schedule is flushing out really nicely. I still have a good amount of time in sort of the middle of the year and the end of the year. So if you want to book me for a class in your area, don't send me a message and ask when I'm going to be in your area, because most likely all the classes that I have in places are already filling or full. If you want to host me in your area, probably just send me a message and ask how to do it, and I'll send you some information on how to make it happen.
Okay. I've got your web page pulled up here. I mean, if somebody, so we'll go ahead and say this now since you brought it up. If somebody was looking to see if you were in their area, can they find it on your calendar or anywhere like that? Or
Just send me an email. We have some different systems that we're developing right now that are going to organize the business a little bit better. The website that I have up is pretty well defunct. It hasn't been served. It's not served much of a use for organizing most of that stuff. So we're going to move in a different direction. For the time being, if you want to book me for training, you can send me a message on Facebook and Instagram, and I can get you some information, or just email me directly, masonlane.lsat@gmail.com, and we can get that going on.
All right, now let's get back to Norway. I assume that's after the winter freeze.
Yes, it's going to be in April.
Okay.
I don't.
How did
Yeah, well, I guess I don't know. I don't know when the freeze is in relation to that,
Yeah.
but
I think it's
that's what
May.
it's. Is it in May?
I think it's May.
Oh, it's May.
It's May. Beginning of
Okay.
May, though.
I feel like that's about when the thaw is, and then it refreezes about October.
We're cool with winter. We're used to it.
Yeah, we are. Used
Yeah,
to
you
it.
guys are, but that's still a different kind of winter. We're talking Arctic Circle winter here.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. We're
So,
pretty excited
but
about
that's
them, though.
that I'm excited for you. I mean, you said you're going to Norway. I'm like, what? That's awesome. So, how did someone reach out to you from there?
Yes, the class organizer just sent me a message directly and asked if it was something we'd be interested in, and we started planning it in the early fall last year. So now it's kind of starting to come to root here.
Yeah.
We're very excited for it.
Yeah, we were actually watching Vikings. We were watching Vikings when
It was actually fall in 2021, wasn't it?
I think it was. Yeah.
So it's been in the works for a while. We're very
Yeah.
excited. We were watching.
wow.
What were we
We were
watching?
watching Vikings. We were watching Vikings and playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla at the same time. We had like a little Vikings time period. And I remember we both said to each other, we're like, how cool would it be to go to Norway? We should go to Norway at one point. And like 2 days later, Mason gets an email from, it's like a Norwegian sounding name. And we're like, oh.
Yep. Yeah, very excited.
It's got to be Google. Google heard you talking about it, and then Google heard this Norwegian guy talk, and he's like, and they're like, "Oh, let me recommend this." And the guy's like, "Hey, how did this end up on my feed?"
If it's going to work that way all the time, we're going to get an Alexa and just start manifesting stuff that we want.
Let's pick a place on the map for next year.
Start throwing darts
talking about it.
Yeah, Hawaii sounds great.
Oh, in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many, what would you guys say the percentage is, Kay, that you actually, like you're going to Norway, obviously, but with I don't know how many classes you teach every month, Mason, but your time frame over the entire course of a year, what percentage of those classes do you help out with, Kay?
I'd say probably somewhere between 80 and 90%.
Wow.
Yeah. I go to a lot of them. I do a lot of the planning for our trips. So Mason does more ammo loading. I do more of the planning for absolutely everything. Which is
You need a new intern.
more of it.
Yeah.
For absolutely everything.
Yeah. if
Pat yourself on the back.
yeah. It would not work out well if we traded positions in that way. So it works good for that. But yeah, I try to go to a lot of them. And just by me planning the travel, I can kind of figure out, how to not be gone for too long of a time. And make it work schedule wise. And Mason's really good. He's helpful with my business too. Mason will help me a couple days a week when he's not doing
nice.
school lessons. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you've taken a class before. They're never more than 2 days at a time.
Yeah.
Right.
While I have time during the week, especially since most of those classes operate during the weekends, most training gigs operate during the weekends, I help you out how we can, and we're able to get a lot more work done. When we have, more hands makes less work that way, especially when it's labor intensive.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So it makes it a little easier to travel, go to classes, and then we get to vacation, or I guess you work, but I work a little bit, but
You read.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Depends on the class.
So you help out when you're not having to load your own ammo now. Now, do you guys actually hand load your ammo, or do you guys just buy? Okay.
Yep.
No issues getting the primers anymore.
I mean, for a while, it was a pretty tough job to keep primers on hand. Through different apps and stuff, we were able to lurk and snag them or 1 or 2,000 at a time for some incredible markup, which we experienced for a while. But nowadays, the availability isn't really an issue. You can find, if you want to look around just a little bit, you can find them, but the prices haven't come down, except for maybe 15% from where they were.
Now, Mason, I saw you posted you had just taught in Staten Island recently.
Yes, sir.
Kay, did you go there?
I did not go to that one. It was right after, I think it was right after Thailand, wasn't
Yeah, it was the weekend
Yeah.
after we got back from World Shoot.
After taking that much time off work, I couldn't put things off more, and it just didn't work out in that way.
So, traveling through the People's Republic of New York, do you ever have any pucker factor doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've traveled through the states, New York and New Jersey especially, for matches plenty of times in the past, shooting all sorts of different divisions, in the way that they're intended to be shot. We'll put it that way. So yeah, I don't really know how there's not really clear, through any legal definitions that we're aware of, how that's intended to be done. We make it a habit of locking all of the pertinent materials in separate individual boxes and storing them well out of reach and out of sight, and drive safely and hope for the best.
Yeah. When you teach there, when the times we shot a match in Staten Island too one time, and we just bring 10-round mags. We set it up for those instances.
Acquired legal equipment for a lot of the parts where you can do it properly, right? But it's at the end of the day, if you get into a situation where you're speaking with a law enforcement officer about the contents of your trunk, you're probably going to be having a bad day anyway.
Yeah.
So we try to just do it as properly as we can, kind of follow best practices and be safe.
Yeah, I feel like the vagueness is intentional.
I
think so too.
And I think it's probably better that you went alone. That way, at least you had someone to bail you out.
Yeah. I got my
We're
one
both
phone
not
call.
stuck in there. Exactly. Now, I've been bringing up IDPA more and more with people, and
Sure.
Mason, on your website, it mentions that you are a distinguished master, meaning you've won an IDPA national championship.
Yes, sir.
Now, what are your thoughts on IDPA, and do you still do some of that? Do you plans in the future of doing that?
Yeah, I started in IDPA, so when I got into shooting and started to take it more seriously and travel around a little bit, with the support of my folks, I started doing IDPA first because the scene in our area is much bigger, and at the time there actually wasn't really there was literally no USPSA clubs in the state of New Hampshire. So I shot that pretty seriously for a long time, went to all the local matches, shot all the regionals and stuff they have around here. And for a while, until 2018 maybe or so, I'm not sure, they had the Indoor Nationals, which was about a half or more low-light indoor national championship with 13 or 14 stages. And I won one of those in the neighborhood of 2015. So that's where the DM comes from. It's a good, I like IDPA for some things. Some of which is intentional on their part, some of which is not. I think, and it's definitely a regionally dependent thing as far as how quality the matches are going to be, from what I understand. In New England, we have a really strong constituency with 3 really big and really supportive clubs. So you get to see a lot of really interesting and different, well-executed moving targets that you would never get to see in USPSA match, with lots of electronic activators and sliders and swingers and drop-down targets. Different props, like cool stuff that you have, like hand manipulated props and windows and stuff like that. So, the major matches in our area are worth going to. I would say they're worth going to even if we weren't as close to them as we are. But just through experience, I've kind of set the groundwork for myself that I don't travel very far to go to IDPA matches, just because I have an aversity to traveling really far for matches where the competitive culture is not what we're accustomed to in practical shooting.
Okay. Now, how much of the students that you teach, how many of them are, we'll say, IDPA shooters versus USPSA?
I would. It's not something I talk about extensively in classes, just because most of the skills that you teach and that you use in IDPA are I don't know how to put this, I guess politely, but it's not the same sort of skill set you generally apply in practical shooting, just because the speed imperative does not really stress those skills in a way that it would in USPSA. So I don't talk about it that much, but I could probably estimate 15 to 20% just based on the classes that I teach, in
Okay.
and around New England, up and down the East Coast.
Okay. I could see that. Shoot, what was I didn't bring it up earlier. I'll bring it up now that I did mention IDPA, but I kind of feel like IDPA is closer to IPSC with their different props than USPSA is compared to IPSC, because like you were saying, I was talking to somebody recently, or heard somebody recently mention that they shot an IDPA match where there was like a laser beam that you passed through, and then
Right.
that activated stuff.
Yes.
Um,
So
or
based on,
actually, that might have been your episode a year ago, Mason.
it could have been, yeah. Definitely, like we talked about, based on how they restrict the movement a little bit more in IPSC, they can funnel you to do some cool stuff that way. In our area, they do a lot of like laser, reflector, beam, break free beam. This is on a delayed timer over here, kind of activators. That stuff's really, really cool.
Yeah, it is.
And that's why I say it's like, it can, from what I understand from talking to different people around the country, it can be kind of regionally dependent, how much effort goes into it and how good the matches are.
Yeah.
In our area, they're absolutely excellent.
Yeah, and we have a guy that, like, literally we went to an IDPA match this year, and it was like they brought in water and like built, like, they had a boat, and you had to like pull yourself in the boat to keep shooting.
I posted
Like,
a picture of it on my Instagram. The match was in
it's-
August. It was they built up like a trench and had like a 40-yard long,
and you were in like
river.
a good sized boat. It
and
was
you're
like,
you're in an actual boat, and you had like ropes that you pulled on to move the boat in water down the track and shot as you went. It was crazy. And that's the kind of stuff you can come to
Yeah.
expect at the matches in our area pretty much every. I mean, that's
crazy.
probably the craziest thing I've ever seen in terms
Yeah.
of effort, but like really cool stuff like that is par for the course in our area, so it's worth doing.
Yeah, that sounds pretty amazing. And very exciting, actually. Well, nope, I don't think it's the picture with what looks like a whale fin sticking out of the water.
They're on my phone. Is your phone right there?
I'm trying to see if I can.
Oh,
I'm gonna look quickly. I don't want to waste too much time
Nah.
here.
Oh well. Yeah, I think I went past it.
oh, right there. Is it
Yeah,
in-
so it's from August 19th.
August 9th. All right, let me just click on a random one here. That's June 26th, so I definitely went way too far.
There's a picture of 3 sticks, and it's the one right next to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw the 3. Here we go. Now I'll share the screen so that people who watch this can actually see.
It's hard to even believe unless you see it. Hopefully, you can zoom in on it to see, so you can see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna zoom in. I'm cropping it right now so that when I go to do this, it'll be much bigger and definitely more visible. Oop, don't want to cut Kaylee's face off there. There we go. I can slide over. So you literally had, because it looks like it's a John boat
Yeah.
right there. And then
Yeah.
I guess you literally had to pull yourself using these ropes.
Right, and you can see right above and to the left of your cursor right there. There's little rubber ducks floating in there.
That's what those are?
Yep. Yeah,
That's
you had to use those ropes to pull yourself down, and you had to do wide transitions back and forth, clacking out targets as you went. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Wow. So here's a question then. Did you do this like strong hand only and just try to keep moving, or did you stop and two-hand it?
They actually gave you a nice opportunity. They managed to keep it moving, keep maintaining the match flow, but they managed to get everyone in the boat and take a trip down and back
Yeah.
before we started during the 5 minutes. So we were able to kind of
Wow.
figure out like what positions it was really important to be shooting at and kind of combine the arrays. So you're able to do one big lunge, like pull yourself down, pick the gun up, shoot a little bit freestyle on some stuff, put it down, do another lunge, shoot a little bit more stuff. Kind of on the move in the boat. It was really cool.
It was cool.
No, nobody shot the bottom of the boat, I take it.
No, well, not when we were there anyway.
Okay. Now, what were you putting your gun down on? Just the bottom, or like a
You can,
bench seat?
Well, you can't quite see it in the picture, but right behind that black box right there, they have it was like basically the synthetic like putting green material, like the rug that is like has the little fingers to it. They had basically
Right.
a mat with like some padding and then like some 2x2 a 2x2 rim around it so that it couldn't slide off just if you swiped it with your hand.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That to me is fun, interesting stuff. That's why I would like the idea. I love the idea of having actual sliders for movers
Yes.
in
Yeah.
USPSA more frequently.
Yes.
Yep.
The guy Jason Wood with Target Sports USA has a prototype for one that's I think he's coming out with fairly soon that looks really interesting that
Yeah.
may make that more feasible for clubs to do more often.
And it was really small too, which was cool. Like
Yep.
very compact to like ship and be able to set up.
Well, and I feel like when you get to like nationals, that's where those types of skills I think would also, when you've got those top 10 guys, you guys are all in the 90% of each other. It would be nice to see some skills in these stages that more like IPSC, where let's actually pit their skills against each other, not necessarily just, stage plan.
Yeah, you definitely see experience separation on those kinds of things because guys that have been around the block are not going to freak out when they see something like that.
That was one thing too. When I spoke to a lot of people, obviously at World Shoot, and a lot of us felt the same way, that we weren't necessarily prepared by our nationals for the movers that were at World Shoot. Like, it's just so different. We don't do plates. We don't do swinging plates.
Right.
A lot of those things, like we'd at least seen the Holy Monkey swinger, because they have those like crazy around here, and they had those in Thailand. But it's like a lot of those movers you've never seen before, and you're supposed to be at a World Shoot shooting them for the first time.
Now, I assume you guys, when you say check, so you guys shot the Extreme Euro, I take it.
Yep.
So did you guys see that type of stuff in the Extreme Euro?
Some of those things, but not necessarily the not all of them. I would say like we saw more plates and moving plates, but not to the same degree that we saw in Thailand.
Okay.
And obviously that's an advantage for, Europeans and those Thai shooters, people from all around the world that are used to going to those matches and seeing that flavor. That's a definite advantage for them in comparison to us, where we have, drop turners and normal swingers. We don't have these crazy contraptions of sliders and plates and all kinds of things.
And it goes back to, I've been saying for a couple of years now, I'd like to see some more IPSC matches. And people are like, well, you can go to Florida and do those. It doesn't really matter. But I still feel, and I guess now that I've been shooting a little bit more and talking to people a little bit more, I feel like more of an IPSC style feel in the USPSA matches at times would be a benefit for people doing that, especially like at a nationals. Have a couple of IPSC stages, you know what I mean, that are more, not necessarily, okay, you can only have so many rounds or you have to do this or do that, but restrict the movement. Maybe some different mover type things that you would see in an IPSC match, or or props, just something to give that flavor that
I
we're
agree.
not getting.
I think part of the issue too is that people think that IPSC is the same as IPSC Nationals. Like if you only go to IPSC Nationals in Florida, you think, oh well, you know, that honestly kind of pulls out like some of the not so great parts of IPSC where it's like, okay, well I can't walk stages. Okay, well I can't do all these things, and it's like in reality that's like not to be
But
like
it's
rude or
people
anything,
think
but
that
it's
it's
not the best IPSC match.
no, it's not at all. It's not uncharitable to say. I mean, anyone that's been to a proper IPSC match out of the country knows that.
Yeah,
and
it's
understands that.
set up by USPSA shooters, so it's not necessarily an IPSC match still.
You'll go to IPSC Nationals and there'll be short courses. Every short course you see will be 1 to 2 positions with a free fire zone that's the
Yeah.
size of this couch, right? And it's, you shoot these 3 targets here, and then you basically got to do a reload and you shoot those 3 targets there. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, this is still just a USPSA match with different rules.
Yeah,
And you see the best part of IPSC is the stage creativity that goes into it, and the way that they're much more sophisticated and having diverse hit factors, round counts, and shot difficulties
Yeah.
across their whole match.
And that's what I was seeing from home, watching everybody's videos that they were posting. I'm like, one, just the way they decorated their stages was outrageously
Yeah.
awesome. But two, it's like these guys are having to shoot. I mean, this is not like I'm going to run over here and throw some rounds down range, and I'm going to run over here and do this and then run over there. It's like, no, these are, you can see the intensity in the stages, but they seemed like they wanted me. I wish I could crawl through the screen and shoot it myself because it looked fun and challenging.
it was. Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, and that's pretty much par for the course with any level 3 or higher IPSC match.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really I cannot stress enough, if you're listening and you have the means, make the time to go schedule a match, especially in Europe, because it's so easy to get to.
I'm excited too. Pan Am Extreme in what is it, January?
Yes.
So the guys that put on the Extreme Euro and all whatever other matches they do like a slew of them. But they're doing a match in Volusia County this January, the Pan Am Extreme.
In Florida.
Yeah, in Florida. So it's I think a level 3.
Mm-hmm.
But it's put on by those guys. They're already on the ground setting up stages now. So I think that will be a way better taste of IPSC if you're in the Florida area. That's the
I don't know if it's full or not, but I mean, if they're a for-profit company, if it's able to be profitable for them, I'm sure they'll come and do it time and again, which would be really good for us. We need people to see how good it can be.
Yeah, I think culturally it'll be really good. They're true blue IPSC guys, and they're gonna set up the match how they do it. 30 stages should be good.
Wow, 30 stages too.
Yeah.
Yes, which is an appropriate number as long as they're round balanced and scheduled properly.
Agree. And that was going to be my next question for you guys. Because you've shot IPSC outside of the state, so you've shot several matches now where it's that 3-2-1. Do you guys like that format better than like the USPSA matches where it can be random?
Yeah. So to sort of cover the same ground a little bit, when it's that rule is a good for a few reasons. Number one is the lower factor stages or the lower count stages tend to be lower factor, because if you take an 8 to 12 round stage, unless you make it under 8 to 12 seconds to complete, right, it's going to be the factor is going to be lower than 5 or so, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they tend to be stages that require more accuracy when you're shooting at paper. Just based on the scoring imperative, the math makes it so that it's very, very critical to hit alphas. And that doesn't scale linearly as you ascend in round count because they're a little bit smarter about it than that. But it does tee up a really good opportunity to stress disciplined, accurate shooting much more frequently than we do in the States without using white or black, which is good for its own reasons. The other thing is, in a match management perspective, it makes it possible to shoot 10 stages in a half day,
Yeah.
which is what we've become accustomed to shooting the Extreme Series matches, which sounds like lunacy, to someone that's never experienced that kind of match, but it's doable, and they make it happen
Yeah.
even without any reset help, except the reset movers. They make that happen over there.
Yeah.
This last year we went there and we were expected to go patch targets, and we still maintained the same
got
schedule.
done. Yeah, got done at noon.
Yep.
The one thing I will say is I think I like the 3-2-1 format, but I honestly think for like say an area match, you're only going to shoot, one large stage or 2 large stages in that case, which I think can be a little bit light. I think we did Area 8 at Shadowhawk a couple of years ago, and it did seem a little bit light on like a 10 or 12 stage match. But honestly, if like if USPSA even went to a style that was 1-1-1, it's like that would be an improvement from what we have currently, where sometimes you'll show up and it's like, okay, you've got 10 32 round stages.
Right. If it was 30% each species, of course, right? That
Yeah.
would still be an improvement from some of what you see.
Yeah.
I think part of what people maybe that haven't experienced those kinds of stages don't appreciate too is the economy of effort is not scaled with the number of rounds that are applied on the stage. So it's not uncommon to see, like I had talked about with the factor, it's not uncommon to see a short course that still runs like 14 to 18 seconds.
Yeah.
Which obviously that's going to the result of that is going to be a much lower factor, but that means the stage is built in a way that is physically larger. It's more prop intensive. The effort, there's no economy of effort when it comes to how much they build the stages out, which I suppose, depending on how you look at it, could be viewed as a con.
Yeah.
But it does make for much more interesting matches that way, in my opinion.
I agree. They had like a 32 round stage. I remember it was the second stage we shot at Extreme Euro, where it's like a jungle run kind of thing, and they spread out all of those targets so much that stage is like like a minute.
Oh, well, I don't know if it was that much. It was like close to
felt like a
40
minute.
seconds.
It felt like a minute. A long stage where you're running for so long, running, shooting, like a lot like a 3-gun stage, honestly, but hard targets with 3 or 4 movers on that stage, steel, everything.
Well, right, you think anyone that shot 3-gun, you
Wow.
understand how winded you are after a minute of running and shooting, right? And then you take that physical demand and you apply it to very technically demanding, interesting shooting with a very high scoring imperative because the factor is low, and it makes for a really, really serious challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few and far between American shooters that are going to do well on a challenge like that, just because we're not tested on that kind of stuff hardly ever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you have to remember too, Kay, that you're taking 14 steps for every 4 of Mason.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
it's going to seem like a minute to his 40 seconds.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
and that stage. And I remember I went first on that stage, and to memorize that, you need like the whole squad to memorize that, and I did not have the whole squad to memorize that, and it was essentially like, okay, I need to get to these like 6 positions and shoot it straight up, like activator, the whatever, and it was hard. It was a really hard.
It was probably 40, 45, 50 yards of running, at least.
At least.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow. Yeah, and that Area 8 match was with Keanu Sai.
And it was a great match. I just think
right.
for 10 or 12 stages, you almost need to, when you go to that 3-2-1 format, go to a okay, we're gonna get through 16 stages or something like that, just to get the numbers up a little bit. But I don't know.
I didn't feel that much. I didn't leave that match hungry for more shooting personally. I thought they made those small stages feel very big in the ways that I described.
Yeah.
But that is the nice thing about when you see that format type. It's typical to see 16 stages minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like too on the IPSC, even though you're doing 10 stages, you're not exhausted. You're not tired.
No.
Where you're coming back later, the next day and shooting, you're you're good to go. So
Yeah.
Right,
100%.
because it's, I mean, you just spend so much less time standing and walking when you're patching half or a quarter as many targets.
Yeah.
yeah. So now my last question is Georgia or TCU?
I'm sorry, what?
College football national championship, Georgia or TCU? Even if you don't know who's what, who you gonna pick?
What state is TCU?
Texas Christian University.
Oh,
Yep,
Is that it?
Texas Christian. So they're from Texas.
I'm gonna go Georgia.
Okay.
Be a contrarian, TCU.
Oh boy,
We follow sports really closely.
Yeah.
I can tell. Yeah.
The Pats are out now, right?
Yeah, the Pats are out.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what I've got. Anything you guys want to add or any plugs? Anything?
I don't think
You want to
so.
plug? You want to plug your business?
No.
All right.
Oh,
Well,
you
guys,
know
it's
what I
been a-
am going to plug? Can I plug one thing? We
Yeah.
are part of a state match next year. It's called the NH State USPSA match, level 2, that will be in Dunbarton, New Hampshire. We're doing some stage designing for it, and it's to benefit a great cause. It's I think it's called Deliver Fund, which is a company that helps track down people and helps raise awareness for human trafficking. So Devin McManus is the match director, but we're going to be helping out and running a stage and doing all that next year.
So she's the match director who's operated the 2 of the 3 years that Pioneer was at, or that Area 7 match was at Pioneer. She was the match director. So she's a very experienced match organizer, and it's guaranteed to be a very well attended, organized, and executed event. So
I think it's June 8th through 10th.
yep.
8th through the 10th.
Definitely, at least if you're in, the Northeast or on the East Coast, it's definitely a match worth looking at. If you happen to be a company that's listening to the show, we're always looking for more sponsors that want to get
Yep.
involved in something like that,
And
especially
it's
for a
a,
very valuable cause.
Yeah, and it's a tax refund.
course.
Yeah,
Yep.
because
Oh, right on.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Now you said so it's a New Hampshire state match, but it's the what fund?
Deliver Fund.
Okay.
That's the
All right.
the charity.
Okay. I'll have to check it out, and if I can find it, I'll put a link in the show notes so people can
Thank
check
you.
it out.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Well, you guys, this was fun. I appreciate both of you coming on. It was quite fun and exciting.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for being on. Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.